We know you're trying to win that fantasy football championship, and we're here to help you do it with SI Senior Fantasy Analyst Michael Fabiano. And Fabs, let's go over the tight end position with your stardom and sit-em, starting with the guys that should be in lineups this week.
Yeah, and I'm going to start Mike Gesicki. Now, he had kind of a stinker last week against Las Vegas until Ryan Fitzpatrick came into the game. But overall, he's averaged more than 17 fantasy points over the last month. It looks like Tua Tagovailoa will start. He's got a good rapport with Gesicki, and the Bills have allowed 8 touchdowns and the 7th most fantasy points to tight ends. 6 have scored more than 13 fantasy points against them in 2020. So I think Gesicki is a good play in a very important game there in the AFC East. I also like Evan Engram in an important game in the NFC East because somehow the Cowboys and Giants are still alive, right? Engram has really owned the Cowboys during his NFL career. In 7 career meetings, Engram has averaged over 15 fantasy points per game, and he's failed to score at least 9.5 points just once. So while the Cowboys have been tough on tight ends this year, I still like Engram. They have given up 11-plus fantasy points to 6 tight ends, and I think Engram will be number 7 in Week 17.
All right, 2 other tight ends that you think people should start. Eric Ebron of the Pittsburgh Steelers and Jonnu Smith from the Tennessee Titans. Remember, Fabs does have Ryan Tannehill as a stardom for his quarterback, pairing him up there with Jonnu Smith. Let's go over to the tight ends that should be on the bench this week, Fabs. Who do you got?
Yeah, we're going to start off with Austin Hooper, who I really liked last week. He had 15 targets, and the reason why, well, the Browns were down 4 wide receivers due to COVID-19. All of those receivers are expected back this week against the Steelers, which means fewer targets for Hooper, and he's also got a bad matchup. Pittsburgh has allowed 2 touchdowns and the second fewest fantasy points to tight ends, so Hooper should be on the sidelines. And I also am fading Jimmy Graham. He kind of went back to the future last week and had a monster game, 2 touchdowns, but I wouldn't chase the fantasy points. This week, he's got a revenge game against the Packers, but they've allowed 5 touchdowns and the 4th fewest points to tight ends. And back in Week 12, Green Bay held Jimmy Graham to just 6.2 fantasy points. So don't get in that DeLorean. Don't chase the points. Sit Jimmy Graham.
All right, so that was just great analysis there on the tight end position from Mr. Michael Fabiano. Fabs also has quarterbacks, running backs, wide receiver, start and sit advice. You can check it all out from Sports Illustrated. Go to si.com/fantasy.